We're with Adam Feldman. Adam is a criminal defense attorney in Phoenix, Arizona, and he's agreed to answer some questions related to marijuana and marijuana charges. With that said, let's go into the first question that was posted. I realize that each case is different and it's based on the charge. Can you give me a range of fees that you charge?
That's a really tough question because it doesn't even narrow me down to the type of, excuse me. It doesn't even narrow me down to the type of crime that we're dealing with. So when we're talking about drug possession, it's going to be a different range, and it'll be contingent upon a lot of things. Everything from, do you have prior felony convictions? What is the weight of the drugs? Questions like that. And then, you know, is this a possession case, or are we talking about transportation? Is this a simple transportation where it was just more, you know, a very low-level operation, or are we talking a huge operation that involved multiple people and very sophisticated techniques? So all of those things are really going to come into play and assist me in providing a true quote as to what the prices would be. So the best advice I can give you is if you have specifics, you can always call me at the number below, 602-540-7887, or you could submit additional questions that are more specific, and then I can give you prices.
Okay, excellent. Next question. What my cousin was caught crossing the border with multiple pounds of marijuana. However, he was forced to do this. He really had no choice. Have you seen this before, and can he use that as a defense?
I have seen that before, and technically, yes. There are two defenses that you can use. One is duress, the other one is coercion. And they're really good defenses. However, it takes a lot to convince a prosecutor that this is what was going on. And oftentimes it takes even more to convince a jury, because ultimately that's who's going to make the decision. So the idea with duress and coercion is that, kind of like you said, you are doing something, you are committing a crime, but it is because of just this horrific pressure that has been put on you. And typically what we see is that oftentimes I have a family member who is being transported. The idea is that he's trying to cross.
Let me interject real quick there. We had a pause there for about 15 seconds or so. Can you repeat that so they can hear?
Sure. So the idea is this, is that duress and coercion are great defenses, and they can be used really well to help people out. But you have to get that defense past a prosecutor, and you have to get that past a jury as well. So the question is, why would anybody believe that this person was under such duress or being coerced to do this? But what we see in having done these cases for quite some time is that it's pretty common. Somebody is either kidnapped at the border or close to the border, or they were just walking from Mexico to, you know, through the desert to get to Arizona. And oftentimes these drug smugglers will find them and will strap drugs to them and basically say, hey, look, if you don't do this, we will kill you. It's a really solid defense, but it takes a lot to get that through. We've been successful before, but it is difficult.
Okay. Next question is, and I guess this ties into that a little bit, what is your success record in defending marijuana cases?
I'm very successful with marijuana cases. With possession of marijuana, I'd say 95% of those or more resolve in situations where the person doesn't have a mark on his record. You can enter into a diversion program, you can take classes and basically have that charge wiped out. When it comes to possession for sale or transportation, also very successful success rate, but success is oftentimes measured differently than when you're talking about with possession. When you're talking now about sale and distribution, you have now entered the world of mandatory prison. It doesn't matter if you don't have a criminal criminal record or not. When you're dealing with transportation, it is mandatory prison according to the Arizona sentencing guidelines. Now, with that said, that doesn't mean that you are going to prison. It means that if you go to trial and if you lose, the court would have to sentence you to prison. So success with that is, I mean, there are a lot of different ways to measure success. If I have a client who's looking at 5, 10, 15 years in prison, and I can get him probation, that's success. On another level, if you have somebody who's maybe looking at a couple years in prison, and you can get rid of the prison and you can create a situation where they can turn this into a misdemeanor, that's success as well. So I'm very successful in aspects like that, but then there are other cases where the case gets dismissed completely. So success rate, I can't give you a 99% success rate, because that's not quite how it works, and success is kind of in the eyes of the beholder. But what I can tell you is I'm very successful in getting great results for the clients in all of these cases that I do.
Okay, this one's fairly specific. My son is being charged with cultivation of marijuana. He had 6 plants on a small piece of property that he owns, but claims that they aren't his, the plants aren't his, and the public can access this property. What do I do now?
Hire an attorney. It's very simple. He cannot do anything to help himself. Anything he says is only going to be twisted and used against him. So he doesn't want to defend himself. He needs a spokesperson, and an educated spokesperson who's familiar with the prosecutors, familiar with how this all works, to assist him in helping himself. So what you've just described is actually a phenomenal defense, because I guess it's akin to this. If there are 4 people in a car and the cops pull the car over for a traffic violation, and that bag is found in the center console, and there's no fingerprints on the bag, whose marijuana is it? How would they be able to say that anybody knew that that bag of marijuana was there? And the truth is that they can't. So as long as every one of those passengers or driver in the car remains silent, the state doesn't have a case against any of them. That doesn't stop them from charging them, but it means they won't be successful. It's the same thing with what you're talking about. If I have a home that has a lot of open land, but that land is open to the public as well, meaning there's no fence, there's no greenhouse that only I have the key to. If it's literally just open land, and all of a sudden the cops find some marijuana plants, sure, they're going to assume that it's mine because I own the land, but how are they ever going to show that I'm the one who went out there and planted it and was tending to it or anything like that? The more remote the land is, the more remote the location of these marijuana plants, the better. So it really is an exceptional defense that you're speaking about, and it's fact specific, but you're certainly going up the right alley, and you need an attorney to push this and promote this with the prosecutor and with the jury.
Okay. Final question we have is, I had a large amount of cash on me at the time I was busted. Is there any way I can get this back?
Yes, but it's not easy. Those are 2 separate aspects of a case. You've been busted. All right. So let's say it's busted for possession of marijuana for sale. All right. And then there's cash. Well, the question is, where's the cash? How'd you get the cash? And is it related to the drugs at all? The police are going to seize it, and they're automatically going to say that this drug or this money is drug money, and therefore it's contraband. And then they're going to initiate a civil proceeding, which is called a forfeiture proceeding, basically saying, because this is illegal contraband, it's money that is earned through sale of drugs, or it was used to purchase drugs, or going to be used to purchase the drugs in the future, they're claiming they have a right to seize that money. Now, do they have that right? Well, that's up for the court. And there's this entire process where you're filing you're contesting their claim to forfeit. You have to file all this different paperwork to get your money back. Money is the hardest thing to get back when you have been found with drugs, especially large amounts of drugs. A lot of times what we see is that there's a safe. In that safe will be money, guns, and then some drugs. Odds of you getting that money back then are slim to none. But on the flip side, let's say you have a house with multiple rooms and different people live in these rooms. They find the drugs in one room, but they find the cash in the other room. Well, who's to say that cash had anything to do with the drugs, and how would the state even be able to prove it? In that situation, you're much more likely to get your currency back.
Okay, excellent. If you have any other questions for Adam, all you have to do is post them in the comments section below. He's agreed to get back to you with answers. And with that said, thanks for your time, Adam.
I appreciate it, Ryan. And like I said, a lot of these questions are fact specific, so you can always call me. The consultation's free. The call is free. My telephone number is 602-540-7887, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.